Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894 for a brand new video. Today we have a topic that we didn't particularly want to talk about. We don't want to be hearing this sort of news. You've obviously read the title, and yes, we're going to fill you in with what we have read today and give you our thoughts on the situation of both Pep Guardiola's contract and where his future may lie. Now, the reports today suggest that there is an international side. Of course, Brazil, the big dons in international football, are interested in securing the signature of our beloved manager, Josep Guardiola. We don't want to see him go. Myself and Joe here did a video on Pep's contract situation quite some time ago, and we were very optimistic that he will sign a new deal. We remain very optimistic that he will sign a new deal, but we want to cover this and unravel the truth behind it. So the first tweet we got was from Marsa, at Mario Cortegana. As always, you guys can let us know how reliable any of these sources are. We are not experts on reliability. And he is saying Brazil want to make Pep Guardiola their new national team manager following his time at Man City. Their intentions have been transferred to his brother and representative Pere. The offer is 4 years with a proposed salary of €12 million net. I believe, now if I'm not mistaken, Pep is currently on somewhere around 16, 17 million pounds a year at Manchester City. So something to bear in mind there is he would have to take a wage cut to take this job. But we'll get into whether we think this is true or not. Some quotes here from Pep as well via TNT Sports BR. Never heard of these people, but they've got some quotes here on this topic. Pep has said Brazil has very good Brazilian coaches who have to coach the national team. There are very good Brazilian coaches. Debate closed. So it sounds to me like Pep isn't having much of this, Joe. First of all, what are your thoughts on the prospect of Pep leaving City, Pep managing Brazil? Do you think there's much truth behind this, or is it Brazil brewing up a storm in the hope of getting in some sort of a new manager?
I would be absolutely devastated if this man was to leave after 2023, because I don't really know who would take over after him. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about possibly, the original plan was, leading towards Ten Hag, who seems to be after Man United now, but his contract was also up in 2023, so you'd look at if Pep wasn't to extend, we'd just go into him at the end of his contract, but obviously that's not an option anymore, so who would we go for? Would you try and prize Mikel Arteta away? I don't know. I think he's still very close, and I'm still very optimistic of him signing a new deal, because I think he realises that at the moment, the standard of football, especially in this country, but between City and Liverpool, is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think we're ever going to get this battle ever again. And I mean, long may it continue, just for the spectacle itself, let alone just what we want as City fans for him to stay. But I think that him saying that it's sort of, case closed, signs his intentions. If you've been following Pep for a while, I think he said before that he does want to manage on the international stage at some point in his career before he retires. But he also has said, I think he wants to take some sort of sabbatical after his stint here and, take maybe 1 or 2 years out before he then comes back into management. So even if he does end up in Brazil somehow, I don't think it'd be the end of his contract. I think it'd be after a break, whenever he decides to take that. I don't know, but I don't really see any truth in this, to be quite honest with you. I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. Especially this Pep Club rivalry. I think it's just too good to pass up, and I think he knows that he's in the right place at the moment, and I don't, understandably the wage cut comes into things as well. Now, obviously, when you're on an international stage, it's a lot fewer games, a lot less work, so of course it's going to be slightly less money, but I don't think for him it's about the money. I think it's just about what he wants to do, and I truly believe he wants to stay.
Yeah, it would be in true Pep fashion to take sabbatical. He did that after he left Barcelona, didn't he? And he was planning on doing it when he was going to leave Bayern Munich, but then City came in the way. But he has spoken about this, Pep, in recent months. He never gave a clear answer as to what his intentions are, whether he's going to sign a new contract or not. But the signs sort of pointed towards Pep would extend, because he said he's very happy at City. City give him everything he wants. And he wants to give the club everything they want, and it's just a matter of, making each other happy and that sort of thing. And I think City will not be silly. I don't think the City board they won't be silly in the situation whereby they will do everything in their power, I believe, to hold on to Pep. And I would think that is the right move, because as you said, Pep, the whole Pep Klopp rivalry is fantastic. Pep has been given everything he wants. He's having success. Why would he leave when he's going through a fantastic period of success where he can continue to build a legacy for himself, which he is doing. And there's no doubt that even if we do win the Champions League this year, yes, that will be a box tick for Pep that he's clearly desperate to tick. But knowing the way he is, he will want more. If he feels there's more to be gained from this City team, he will continue to gain from it, because he only really left that Barca team because they were the team that he had built at Barca was starting to go through a transition. You know, they lost Xavi, they lost Iniesta, they lost these kind of players. So Pep probably felt his time with that team was up and he didn't want to go through a transition period. But he's gone through multiple transitions now with City, and it seems like he's happy to go through another. Obviously, the introduction of Alvarez is clearly a Pep signing. Pep wanted Alvarez. It's evidently clear Pep wants Erling Haaland. Why would Pep want to bring in Erling Haaland if Pep's going to leave in 12 months' time? It would be just, yes, from a selfish perspective, you could say he just wants to get a good 12 months worth out of a striker. But I think he's thinking more long-term, which would make sense. But then the final tweet we want to talk about here is the big one, which gives me a bit more comfort, which is once again from Marcelo Beckler via TNT Sports BR. Again, seems to be the same report where those quotes we spoke about came from. He is saying there's been no contract or no contact between Brazil and Pep Guardiola. The Man City manager's agent has reiterated his current contract until 2023 with the club. So it seems that they want to, first of all, honour the 2023 contract, and they're not really open to talking about where Pep may go after, Joe. I think it's obviously not, there's nothing clarifying about it. He hasn't ruled out Brazil here, but he's also saying there's been no contact.
No, he hasn't completely ruled it out, but then you go back to the quote of him saying Brazil have had good Brazilian coaches, and it's like, well, he's not Brazilian, is he? So maybe he has kind of ruled it out without saying flat out refusal. But I mean, look, if I'm pretty sure that the way it's going to turn out now, I'm almost certain it's the manager right now, I think his name's Tite, who's currently managing Brazil. He's going to leave after that World Cup in 2022, and obviously Pep's contract doesn't run out until the end of that season, so they're going to have to get someone in, even if he does come straight away anyway. So you'd think that, if they can't get him when their actual manager retires, then they'll probably just look elsewhere straight away. And I mean, look, Pep is clearly thinking long term. Why wouldn't he? I mean, I think he kind of wants to avoid another rebuild. When he came in, he had to rebuild the squad. We had like 4 fullbacks all over the age of 30, like mid-30s, and he had to rebuild then. And I think he really wants to avoid that. You can see with the signings, there are a lot of young signings. We've got a fairly young squad for the most part. A lot of players who are below 30, which is pretty ideal. So I don't see him leaving. I wouldn't rule out him going to Brazil necessarily, but I don't think it would be the end of his current contract. I think even if he doesn't sign an extension again, I think he's just going to take a sabbatical. I think after what is it going to be? 7-8 years at City, something like that. I think he'll take a year or 2 out and then decide to return when he wants to.
We know, like you touched on, that Pep has said or has spoke about his intentions or his interest in managing on the international stage at some point in his career. But I do think Brazil is one of the obvious options for Pep. I know a lot of people are saying the obvious option is Spain, but you have to bear in mind, people, Pep is a massive activist or enthusiast for Catalonia or Catalonian independence, which would be very anti-Spanish monarch and very anti-Spain in general. So you have to bear that in mind. Is Pep willing to manage the country that is essentially holding hostage the country or state that he wants independence for? That's what he's all about, Catalonian independence, and that's his thing. Fair enough. So would he actually manage Spain? I think that's something to absolutely bear in mind. I could see him managing Brazil or an Argentina at some point down the line. I think it will happen, but in terms of how this will affect us, my stance is still firmly that Pep will extend. I'm not saying he's going to extend for 4 or 5 years. I don't think he will. I think he may extend for maybe another year past 2023, if we're lucky, maybe 2, and that will firmly be the end of the Pep Guardiola era, even though it pains me to say so. But I think we've kind of touched on this news as best as we could. Myself and Joe, I think it's fair to say, still remain very optimistic that Pep is going to stay. Like I mentioned, let us know your thoughts down below in the comments on this news. Brazil's interest. If Pep was to leave City, what club would he go to? What country could you see him managing? Like Joe touched on, do you just think he might take a sabbatical? Do us a favour if you would. It massively helps us if you would leave a like on the video. The support's been fantastic recently. And subscribe, of course, if you're new. Like, subscribe, share it around, all that good stuff. And we'll see you very soon. Good night. God bless.